Hello, my name is Mark and you're watching Shunpike Bushcraft. Do you know, as bushcrafters, we like to go out into the woods for a couple of reasons. One, to learn new skills, to challenge ourselves, but most importantly, to enjoy our time in the woods. Well, that can be really difficult to do if when we get out there we've discovered that we've chosen clothing that's not appropriate for the temperature and the environmental conditions. So in this video I want to take a few moments to go over some of the bushcraft clothing, the clothing that I use to go out and do bushcraft skills with in the woods. But more importantly, the focus of this video is how you can do so, gain some good quality clothing, very effective for the environmental conditions, but still save a lot of money. Stay tuned. So thanks for staying tuned. So before I begin, I just want to take a moment to give thanks to all those who have subscribed to my channel, who have left comments for me. That's very encouraging. It's actually the reason why I continue to do videos for YouTube, is because of the subscribers, because of the community that I find myself involved with, and hopefully I'm contributing back to. But I also want to point out, and this is kind of exciting for me, I started my channel at the 1st of September 2016, and here it is, the 28th of December 2016, and I've reached the milestone of 159 subscribers. Now I know that's not a big channel by any means, but I had set a goal for myself of reaching 100 subscribers by Christmas, and I've exceeded that significantly. And for those of you who have YouTube channels, you know that getting started, learning how to do YouTube videos and all that goes with it, and it is a huge learning curve, quite honestly, is significant. And getting past that first 100 subscribers is significant, and it's quite a celebration for any of us. Now, I don't plan on stopping. I have new goals in mind, but I just want to say again, thank you to everybody for those who have subscribed, and stay tuned. I hope to have a lot more that I can contribute to our community. So, you know, choosing the right clothing to go out into the woods with is important any time of year. But you can have some leeway in the summertime when the temperatures are warm and you're not likely to suffer from hypothermia. You can get away with some, not mistakes so much, but you don't have to focus as much on the clothing as you do during the winter time. Yes, there is a risk, or at least you can be made more comfortable by choosing the right clothing during the summertime, but it's in the winter that you really have to give careful consideration to what you're going to wear. And one of the things that is the enemy of all those who go out into the woods is moisture management, or that's the priority, is moisture management. Because once you're wet, unless you have a good system of clothing, that moisture can lead to hypothermia very quickly. So what I want to show you is the system that I'm using this winter currently, and this is always subject to change as I find more equipment that I can add to my collection, and as I learn more and I gain more experience by being out in the woods, I can always change what it is I'm using. But it's also very much dependent on the weather conditions that I expect to encounter while I'm out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out a few items, and I'm going to go through the categories as I see them, starting with the base layer, working through some mid layers and upwards to the outer layers, and finishing off with what I would call the accessories, the hats, the gloves, the boots, and those types of things. So I'm going to start with my base layers. I'll tell you a little bit about them. I want to tell you how you can save money but still own and use very effective equipment. So again, the focus of this video is first to discuss the clothing that I use during my winter excursions out into the woods, but also to tell you how I go about being able to gain a good amount of clothing at a very affordable price. Now what you're looking at are my two pair of boxers. Nothing special here. These are both purchased at Mark's Work Warehouse here in Halifax. They're both 100% polyester. They're both designed to be wicking layers. So that's my base wicking layer. I always start with polyester next to my skin, mostly because I find that the single most effective way of wicking moisture away from my skin. And yes, there are more expensive Under Armour brands and some other brands that are also very good, and I'm not discounting those at all. It's just that I wanted to stay within a budget so I could afford to have more options. So moving on from there, I move over to my liner socks. Now, these are both Wicking Layer thin polyester liner socks, and I wear these under my wool socks, which I'll discuss in a minute. So both pair of these are very thin, very snug to the foot, but still very comfortable. And I want to tell you, if you haven't worn liner socks before, it's something you really should be thinking about, because it does two things. One, it moves the moisture away from your feet, which means your feet are going to remain drier and therefore warmer. But it also significantly reduces the chances of blisters, because you have sock against sock movement instead of sock against skin. And it's that sock against skin, especially if your shoes are not as properly fitted as you would like them to be, that often results in blisters. So these are my liner socks, both purchased inexpensively at Mark's Work Wearhouse. Again, there are better brands you can buy, but for the money, this works just great for me. Moving on, so the pair of wool socks on the left is just representative of a number of pair that I have. These were purchased in a 3-pack at Costco, and I'm going to say it was $11, but I could be wrong on that. They're not 100% wool, but they're an 80% wool, 20% polyester or nylon, and honestly I can't remember which. But I find them very effective. They fit quite well. They're not especially thick, but combined with the Wicking Layer socks, except for the coldest of temperatures, these seem to do a pretty good job. And quite honestly, these are comfortable through the fall and through the spring as well. So yeah, you do need something on very cold days, but most of the time this will do quite well for me. So moving on, next, both of these pairs of socks, you're going to find this hard to believe, were purchased brand new at a secondhand store. So what we have is we have some military wool socks on the left, and I don't believe they're 100% wool. I believe they're also 80% wool and nylon mix. The nylon mix, if it's a small percentage, is not going to significantly affect the insulative qualities of the wool or the other qualities of wool that we're looking for. But what it does do is it goes a long way to ensure the durability of the sock and to prevent shrinkage, which may occur if you don't wash them properly. The ones on the right, however, are 100% wool, homemade socks made for a craft market, purchased brand new but very inexpensively. I'm going to tell you, I paid less than $2 for each of those pairs of socks. They were brand new, they're not previously worn, so it's not as if I'm looking at buying secondhand underwear here. This is all brand new equipment, never before worn. But again, the point is, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get good gear. And finally, this is just a base layer shirt, very thin polyester wicking layer, sleeveless singlet type shirt. And this is I've had for a long time. I used this for a lot of years during my patrol days. It would go under my shirt, which of course then I'd have a wool shirt on, which was our standard issue, and my ballistic armor on top of that. And it was important because that ballistic armor was sometimes like wearing a plastic bag. At the least bit of exertion, you started to build up a perspiration. But this would take the perspiration away from my skin, wick it out through the wool layer, and then I could vent the vest out if I got too hot. So those are my absolute base layers. Now I'm going to move up to the next layers that I would wear on top of each of these. So what I'm showing you now are still my base layers, but they will go on top of my boxers and that thin nylon shirt that I may wear, or that thin polyester shirt that I may wear next to my body. It's really dependent on what the weather's like. I may not wear the singlet under either any of these, but it really depends. If it's going to be cold, or I expect that I'm going to be exerting a lot of energy and building up a lot of perspiration, then I will wear that extra layer. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But what I'm looking at now, all of these items, with the exception of 2 pieces, were purchased secondhand. Now, let me just show you the items and then we'll talk about that. What you're looking at here is a base layer by the brand company Merino. Now that is a well-known, well-respected outdoor equipment clothing company, and they produce some quality things. This is 100% polyester. It's very thin, but it's very effective at moving moisture. And one of the things I like about this is you can see it has a long zip up to the neck, and it's just got a short neck, which is I prefer a short neck, and I'll explain why in a second. So this was purchased for probably less than $5, just a fraction of what it would cost new. Next to that is a Merino polyester blend base layer. Now I did purchase this at a secondhand thrift store. It is probably only 10% merino. This is the Paradox brand. Now, Paradox is also sold by Costco here in Canada, and I can only assume it is in the United States as well. Paradox is an outdoor company as well. See if I can find the label on the inside. You can see that there. So it's a merino wool blend. It's still very effective, and yeah, so this one now, this is a 100% merino wool base layer by the outdoor company Kuhl, K-H-U-L, K-U-H-L, and a well-known outdoor company producing some very high quality materials. It's a little thicker. It's merino wool, making it very comfortable and very effective as an insulation layer. Now, base layers, one of the things I want to mention about them is to be most effective, they should be something that is got a lot of stretch to it so that it can bring it close to the skin. It's when they have good contact with the skin over the majority of your body that it's going to be most effective at moving perspiration away from your body. So this does have an insulative purpose, but primarily the purpose of these layers is to move perspiration away from your body and not hold it. And they will do that quite effectively. Polyester is probably one of the very best materials. Now, wool is good, but it doesn't release moisture as well as polyester does. It will move moisture away, and yes, you do remain warm even though it is moist, but it will hold on to that moisture longer than the polyester will. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention is, and I'm sure some of you were wondering, would I really wear secondhand clothing next to my body? Well, honestly, when I look at these things, I look at the quality of them, the condition of them, and for the most part, I can find things that are usually very close to, if not brand new, sometimes with the tag still on them. But what I do, of course, is when I get them home, I usually put them through at least one hot water wash to ensure that anything that may have been left behind, if there was such a thing on them, has been removed, and then they're hung outdoors for a period of time, and I feel very comfortable wearing these, even though they are secondhand. Mountain Equipment Co-op. This is a pair of polyester long johns, or base layer leggings, that I've had for a long time. I purchased these a number of years ago at Mountain Equipment Co-op. I purchased them because, and I mentioned before in some of my videos, I was a long distance runner for many, many, many years, and I ran in all weather, and that means, of course, running in the cold temperatures as well. And moisture management is especially important for runners in the wintertime. Not so much if they can make their distance and close their loop and get back home again, but if they're ever caught out in the middle of the run, as I have, you'll find out very, very quickly how quickly your body can lose temperature to the moisture that you've generated. So these were bought at Mountain Equipment Co-op, and for those of you who are Americans watching this would be the American equivalent to the REI company. So very inexpensive, yet still very effective at what they do. These ones were purchased at Costco just this year. This is Paradox as well. It is the merino polyester blend. 10% merino wool, not a high merino wool factor. They do have a lot of stretch. They fit quite snugly. They are very thin, so these are not a cold temperature layer in and of themselves, but they do make a good base layer next to the skin because they're so effective at moving moisture away. And finally, you might consider this a base layer, you may consider this a mid layer. It's kind of a crossover. These are 100% polyester fleece. They're very thin micro fleece, also by the company Paradox. And I did purchase these secondhand some years ago, also for running, and they worked well for me as a running equipment, but wearing them today, I usually wear them as a intermediate layer on top of one of the wicking layers I've shown you before. So those are just examples of some of the layers that I have picked up at a very good price. I don't think I paid any more than $6 for anything on this, with the exception of maybe the brand new ones from Costco or the Mountain Equipment Co-op, but still they were much less costly than some of the higher end well-known brands. All right, let's move up to the intermediate layers.